weird lore for Anthony Greene. I was 16 years old booking indie shows. I got to work with a lot of like legends early on. They always just gave me really cool opportunities, and it's even the place I got to wrestle Maven, my favorite childhood wrestler. So I felt like my shows were very wrestler heavy on top. And I thought Bear Bronson was just such a great worker. I kind of made him my pet project. Arya Davari and Tony Nese. I was basically married to them for the entire time I was on 205 Live. I think it's time for a fresh coat of paint. What can I do to look a little bit differently? Over time, it's evolved into like more my style. There wouldn't be an Anthony Greene if John Walters didn't kind of walk so we could run. Good wrestling can recognize good wrestling. My two goals in pro wrestling forever were to wrestle for the WWE and wrestle in Japan. Am I chasing this unattainable carrot? I don't know the answer, and that's the scariest part. This has never been brought up, I don't think.
Call it how I see it, straight talk, no disguise. So the slang dripping, got the truth in my eyes. Might like gavel, every word, lay it down. Coach C in the booth, turn the game all around. Yeah, it's Coach C, he the best for business. It's Coach C, he the best for business. Yeah, I'm sharp as attack when I call the play-by-play. Every dog got his day, and I make the crowd stay. It's every week we go live on a Wednesday. Dressing so sharp, that's the reason why your friends stay. The youngest in the game to do it, best for business. Coach C is the truth, and everybody gonna witness. Love entertainment, you swear it's your destiny. Link with Coach C, we can talk about your legacy. It's Coach C, he the best for business. It's Coach C, he the best for business.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Another episode of Best for Business. I know I say it all the time, but when I talk about when I first got involved in wrestling, this guy has a huge factor. AG, thank you for joining me, but thank you for everything.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, I don't do podcasts or really any interviews that involve my actual career almost ever. So for you, I'm happy to do it. I've known you since you were a child. I mean, to me, you still are a child, but you're a grown child now. So this is very cool that we're doing this.
I got to send you a picture. I was talking about it with my dad yesterday. I still have the fanny pack. You have trading cards. Like, I have it all from you. So a PWI, you were like the one to watch. I have it all. So thank you for everything.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So one thing I'm curious right off the rip, one of the best compliments I've ever gotten in wrestling was somebody said I reminded them of a young AG for how much of a fan I was for pro wrestling. So for you, what was it the thing about wrestling that made you so involved and invested in originally?
Ooh, it's got to be like the larger than life characters, you know, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Macho Man, Randy Savage, you know, and then obviously I was very young when I would see those guys. And then it was that Attitude Era, you know, the cool guys, DX, Steve Austin, The Rock. And let's be honest, the action figures. It was the action figures for me. I remember one of my earliest Christmases, maybe like 3 or 4 years old, I got a guitar because I thought Elvis was cool.
Okay.
And then I got a bunch of the WCW San Francisco Toy Company figures, the ones that were kind of like LJNs that didn't move.
Yeah.
You know, Sergeant Craig Pittman, you know, Alex Wright, Hulk Hogan, Jimmy Hart, Vader, you know, all those guys.
Yeah.
And I spent just hours booking and putting together matches and battle royals with the big red cage that it came with, and it had the little noise thing on the side, that did, you know, the counts and all that stuff. So that's probably where my actual love for it started.
Wow. One thing I'm curious, did you play sports growing up? I know you've had the passion for pro wrestling, but what was like your athletic background prior to pro wrestling?
All my sports were basically youth sports.
Okay.
You know, youth soccer, baseball, basketball. When I was like 8 years old, I was in a candlepin bowling league. And then I stopped playing any sort of sport. Was my freshman year of high school. I played my last year of youth soccer for the town of Randolph. And then after that, when I was 13, I already kind of got started in pro wrestling. And that was like what I really wanted to do. So sports was the, you know, just extra for me, but wrestling was the goal.
Yeah. For you in wrestling, you've accomplished so much, but before the wrestling itself, you did a lot with refereeing. For you, is there like a match that stands out refereeing? Because even nowadays, like, I'll look back, like I told you, Julian Starr, Mr. Touchdown, like there's some hidden gems that you were part of, and to see you refereeing.
Yeah.
So what stands out to you for refereeing?
I got to work with a lot of like legends early on. I refereed for Jimmy Snuka, Brutus Beefcake, Tito Santana. I got to referee a match with Matt Hardy in I think 2011. A weird one that stands out for me is from I refed for AIW in Cleveland, Ohio. I went down with a car of Beyond wrestlers, and it was Ricky Shane Page teaming with Jimmy Jacobs, who I ended up taking a spear from in that match, and they wrestled Eddie Kingston and Johnny Gargano.
Wow.
So that's like one of those weird ones that sticks out to me. If there's anything else really, Slick Wagner Brown and Eddie Edwards, because I was always a big fan of Eddie Edwards, so like that's a cool one. I got to referee for Raven. It's more, no, I don't think there's like a match specifically, but more like the people that I got to be around and learn from while refereeing.
How long do you being a referee before you decide wrestling is where your full attention goes to?
So I started in wrestling when I was 13. September 2006 was when I first stepped foot in a wrestling school. And then when I was 16, I decided I don't think I want to be a wrestler. I think I want to be a referee. And my first booking was September 2009 for a company called Bay State Championship Wrestling. They don't exist anymore. I think there is a Bay State Championship Wrestling somewhere out there in Massachusetts, but it is not that one. And I refereed for the first time that day. And I was like, I really enjoy this. I think this is what I want to do. And slowly but surely, I started picking up UFO bookings as a referee, more Bay State bookings, NCW bookings. And then I think it was probably 2010, 2011, it really started kicking off for me.
Wow. For a guy that's done so much in wrestling, AG, what would you consider your first big opportunity in wrestling? Because you got to do a lot, but for you, what would you consider that first big one?
Ooh. It's weird because I feel like in each chapter of my career, it's like, this always will top the next big opportunity, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
The first like wrestling opportunity, I'll name two.
Yeah.
CTWE, Bethany, Connecticut. I wrestled Randy, Shawn, Jay Busta, but we were both managed by a Bella twin. I was managed by Brie. He was managed by Nikki. And then actually wrestling a name and being booked in a main event match. The first one for me was the first Lucky Pro Wrestling show. Actually, the 13-year anniversary just passed. Wow. And the main event was myself and the unequaled one, Todd Sopel. And we wrestled Big Vito and Little Guido, Nunzio. And it was the first time I got to cut a promo on the mic, live in front of the audience. It was my first main event, and it was the first time that I got to wrestle against former TV stars. So probably, if I had to choose one, it'd probably be Lucky Pro Wrestling.
Yeah. What were like the early days for Lucky Pro like? Because you talk about that anniversary, especially, some independent companies don't hit that. So for Lucky Pro to still go and thrive, and what were like the OG days like?
It was the weirdest wrestling company ever in the best way, because the promoters and booker, Chris Sullivan, Jim Burgoyne, they are huge fans, much like myself, much like you, and they have no problem admitting that they're marks. We're all marks for this business, right? So they would sometimes bring in like a name that maybe wouldn't necessarily draw a huge crowd, but they wanted to see. Yeah. And because of that, I got to wrestle a lot of these really cool people. Like the second show, I was in a 6-man tag against the BWO, but it was Blue Meanie, Nova, and Thomas Rodman. Like, wow. What a pull, right?
Yeah.
And then the show after that, I did a tag match actually against Team Friendship, but then later I managed Todd Sopel, who wrestled Stevie Richards on that show. And they always just gave me really cool opportunities. And it's even the place I got to wrestle Maven, my favorite childhood wrestler. I got to do that match at Lucky Pro.
Is that the match that you have that Maven talked about, like ignited his passion again for wrestling, or like made him realize like it's something he can still do?
That is the match. That's the only time him and I ever wrestled, and that was the first time we ever met.
Wow. From his eyes, what do you think was about it that match? Was it you telling him like you were his favorite wrestler growing up?
I think it was a mix of me telling him I was his favorite, and he actually says it in his YouTube video that a lot of people have said, "Oh, you're my favorite wrestler," and the only time those people would say that is when he's standing right in front of them. But then as I'm like quoting weird parts of his wrestling career, wrestling for UWF Hermie Sadler in 2007, he's like, "Oh, this kid actually knows my career somehow."
Yeah.
And it was also probably the fact, this is a fun story. I told it on when I did the live Major Wrestling Figure podcast.
Yeah.
I showed up to that show with a stack of things to get autographed by Maven. I think it was like 2 action figures, my encyclopedia. I had like the last ever official WWF card, which happened in Worcester.
Wow.
Before they switched to WWE, and he was on the card. I had like a program from that, like Tough Enough stuff, a bunch of things.
Yeah.
So many things to get autographed. His like gold, 22 karat gold trading card.
Yeah.
And I was too embarrassed. Like I was going to get a photo with him regardless, but I was too embarrassed to be like, hey, can you sign this stack of stuff? So I asked Jim Burgoyne to do it for me.
Yeah.
Jim, nice as ever, willing to do it for me, drops the items off and says, hey, I need you to sign those for me. As Jim walks away, this guy that hangs out with Brian Myers, who tagged with Maven that night, his name is Raleigh Allen. Yes. He knows about like the signing game and the eBay game.
Yeah.
Maven, sweetheart, doesn't do indie shows ever. He's about to sign it, and Raleigh's like, whoa. Don't sign those. Those are definitely going on eBay. And I'm like, I have this inner monologue. I'm like, do I tell him? And I did. I'm like, Maven, I can promise you those are not going on eBay. He goes, how do you know? I go, because all of that is mine. And then he laughs. Everyone laughs, and then we have this like sweet moment. He like signs each thing. Like, do you want this to Anthony? Do you want this, hardcore champion? Do you want this to be signed WrestleMania, 18? Couldn't have been nicer about. Literally signed, if I had to guess, like between 8 and 10 items for me that day.
Wow.
And he was an absolute sweetheart. He takes the booking card off the wall and signs like, pleasure working with you. And this is like before we even wrestled the match. Yeah. Like Maven, they say don't meet your heroes. Maven couldn't, 10 times better than meeting a hero. Like he's the man, and I'm so happy what he's doing on YouTube now. He's the best.
Wow, I can't believe I got a text from Raleigh Allen about that. That's amazing.
Yeah, that scumbag.
I can't believe. When I look at AG, one of the first things I remember seeing for you to be a part of, and that's how I was originally introduced. How did your opportunity for the Super 8 come to be? Because when I started getting familiar with you, especially, I remember seeing the Super 8 who was in your year and then the history of it.
I want to say I tried to get in the Super 8 in like 2016 and 2017. And I forget if one of those was maybe like the like 20th. Yeah, I was in the 22nd one.
Yeah.
So I think the 20th anniversary was coming up, and they basically said, we want you to be in it, but for the 20th anniversary, we're using all people that were in the tournament previously.
Okay.
And then maybe, I don't know what could have happened in 2017. Maybe they just had it booked up. Well, I really don't know. But it was the Logan brothers that kept putting a word in for me. And Joe Zanoli, who's one of the promoters, or was one of the promoters for ECWA at the time. They put the word in for me. And I found out in December 2017 that I would be in the April 2018 Super 8.
Wow.
And it just so happened to be the time where I was all good Anthony Greene when they booked me, and I became the retrosexual Anthony Greene when I did it.
Wow.
So that was like a fun little mix. And I remember Joe's like, oh, you're changing your thing, but all right, yeah, we got you booked. Like, we're expecting the best from you.
Wow. How was the experience?
Oh, I really loved it, man. It was the first one, I believe, that they did in Delaware since like the earlier years. Most of them, the more recent times were all in New Jersey.
Yeah.
This was like their return back to Delaware, so I got to be a part of that. And then looking back at the list of guys in it, like Richard Holiday won the whole thing. That was pretty cool. Cheeseburger was in it. I ended up wrestling on another ECWA show against Ty Awesome. So it's a cool little list of guys that were in there. Yeah.
Wow. One of the things I was texting you recently about, I want to just know, you pick your brain for a while. How long was 01 USA Northeast vision for originally for you?
I had the vision of running wrestling shows.
Okay. You never did anything before this?
I promoted like a fair show.
Okay. Under
like the Top Rope banner in 2014.
Okay.
But other than that, not really much of anything. The Anthony Greene lore is weird. When I was like 17 years old or 16 years old, I actually booked for Bay State Championship Wrestling for a very short time because I was a referee and not a wrestler. So it's not like I had, input in giving myself the championship. And then the promoter knew me since I was a kid. So he trusted that like my wrestling knowledge was good enough to like be able to handle it.
Yeah.
That's weird lore for Anthony Greene. I was 16 years old booking indie shows.
Yeah.
But where were we?
0-1. How did I get? Yeah.
So I knew I wanted to run shows. I always had this like fantasy of being a territory of the NWA. Like I always thought that would be really cool. But at that point, it was already owned by Billy Corrigan, and there was no territories. It was just NWA Power. That was the only thing that existed.
Yeah.
Or that was about to kick off, but it was just NWA owned by Billy Corgan. That was it. There was no more territory system. So I reached out to, I knew I wanted to run shows. So I reached out to Dave Cavazos, who runs 01 USA in the Midwest. And I talked to him. I told him my idea. He said he loved it. And he couldn't have been nicer to me. He didn't charge me for the name. I went under, his insurance and stuff to run the shows professionally. And I just kind of wanted, not that I thought 01 was going to be this, recognized name, but I thought it just gave it a little bit of a rub that instead of coming in and running Joe Schmo Pro, it's like, oh, 01, like, oh, I've heard of that before. I know that's a thing. Just to like pique a little bit of interest when I was running the shows. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When you first start 01 USA, what is like that first match do you think of that you want to put together? Because you posted on YouTube, even that first show still holds up.
Yeah. So the show did not happen exactly as planned. There was some people that had to cancel last minute injuries and other stuff. But one of the, I don't even know if it was necessarily a match. I knew there was a couple people I really wanted on it. I made sure on each show there was like some sort of part of my childhood on the card is the way I'll put it.
Yeah.
So on that first show, I think one of the first people I hit up was probably Jimmy Rave. I wanted Jimmy Rave on it because I had a lot of respect for him, and I just wrestled him in like March before that, and I ended up wrestling him in the July that same year before I ran, and he could just still go. And then booking him, I was like, what would be the most unique match for him? And it was Christian Casanova, Carmelo Hayes. Like, what that's I joke about me versus John Walters. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But like the Generation Grap, that is the Generation Grap. A guy that was like the super indie wrestler of the early 2000s against the guy coming up now. I just thought that'd be like the perfect mix. Who else? Sumi Sakai. I knew I wanted her on the show.
Yeah.
And then it came down to like, maybe it's bringing a couple of like not smaller names, but guys that I could afford. Mm-hmm. So Guido, someone that I've worked with many times. Like I know he'll deliver. I know he can drive in. So I thought he'd be perfect for that show. And then I was like, who could I have, draw the crowd a little more? And at the time, I felt like Simon Gotch was hot enough of a name, and also not used locally enough that maybe he would help draw some people in. And I knew I wanted to push Bear Bronson. I felt like any booker you see will book based on what they kind of are. Like a promoter or booker that's more character driven is going to push character driven wrestlers. I felt like I was more of like a wrestler's wrestler. So I felt like my shows were very wrestler heavy on top. And I thought Bear Bronson was just such a great worker. And he was doing mostly tag stuff at the time. And outside of Create a Pro, he's never had a singles push anywhere. So I kind of made him my pet project and put him in like the best case scenario on each show.
When you first started, did you know Bear Bronson was going to be that guy in that first champion?
No. So I knew I wanted to push him and he would be the champion at some point, but he was not my initial plan to be the first champion. I wanted my first champion to be a heel.
Okay.
I wanted it to be Alex Reynolds.
Nice. Yeah.
But he signed to AEW maybe like 3 or 4 months before the title tournament.
Yeah.
And I think he would have still been willing to work for me because even he did the tournament while under contract with AEW, but I didn't know what kind of, how much he could commit to my bookings at that point.
Yeah.
So I thought Bear Bronson. I was like, all right, well, it was going to be Bear at some point. It might as well be now.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you run the shows, the pandemic happens, everything happens with WWE, you become August Gray. For you, is there like a 205 match that stands out? Because I was looking at it today and watched some in class. Like some of those still hold up.
Yeah, my favorite's probably me and Mansoor.
Nice.
That's probably my favorite match. And then just in general, I have to just shout out Arya Davari and Tony Nese, because those two guys, I was basically married to them for the entire time I was on 205 Live. Wrestled them both in multiple singles matches, multiple tag matches, and I felt like those were two guys that have been with the company since 2016. And they did pay-per-views. Tony Nese won the Cruiserweight title on WrestleMania.
Yeah.
They did live TV, pay-per-view. I felt like they really prepped me for what television wrestling was, and under a low-pressure situation, since it wasn't a live show.
Yeah.
So I owe those two a lot.
Yeah. Was it when you're August Gray, or is it after that you start with the gear like the jeans and all that? Because I was intrigued by that for you.
So this has never been brought up, I don't think.
Okay.
But
I'm a mark for AG.
They were filming like basically pilots of what like Evolve could be. And they teamed me with Rick Boogs, and he wore the denim singlet.
Yeah.
So the second I found out that they liked the idea of him and I tagging together, we both had the long hair, we both had the mustache. I was like, okay, I'm going to go all in on this. I'm going to buy these jeans. So I bought one set, never ended up wearing them. I think I wore them on, it's called PC Live,
Okay.
Which is basically just student shows in front of no crowd.
Are those still on Fridays, or no, they changed them?
They did during this was COVID. So I was there for a very weird time. Like we would sometimes do them like Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We would do them multiple days in a row. And I only wore the jeans twice ever training. And then I got released and I had all my trunks and all this other gear. And then I had this one set of jeans, and I was like, well, I think it's time for a fresh coat of paint. They've seen Retro AG. Yeah. They've seen this Life of the Party August Gray character. What can I do to look a little bit differently? And like I said, like they've never been seen publicly.
Yeah.
So I immediately ordered a second pair of those jeans and said, all right, this is going to be my new look for now. And It's just kind of stuck. It started as like kind of keeping the retro look with them, with the zebra stripes and stuff. And over time it's evolved, no pun intended, into like more my style.
Do you design them or add the touches you personally?
So I just send my gear maker, Killa Customs, Kim. I send her my idea, and then maybe I'll send in a few like inspirational photos of like, I really like how this looks here, or maybe we can add this. But she puts it all together, and there has not been a set. I've been going through her now, we'll just say since I've been released. So July 2021.
Yeah.
I've been going through her. She's really been my only gear maker, and I've never sent a pair back saying like, these look ugly. She always kills it every time with my vests, my gear. She just rules.
Wow. Well, and then especially when you look at your career post WWE, all the things you got to do for you, being a part of the good looking guys, especially, what was like the atmosphere like? What was a day in the life for you down there?
So fun fact, actually,
yeah.
I did not know I was joining GLG.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I had no idea. Like going to Japan, I had no clue. The office was very, very secretive. They asked me if I had black and white gear.
Okay.
I sent them a photo of the only set of black and white gear that I had, and they responded back, "That's perfect." And I said, "Well, they're clearly asking for a reason." So I immediately had a second set of black and white and silver gear made.
How long were you originally going there for?
So my first tour was not a GLG tour.
Okay.
My first tour ever was meant to be 2 weeks, and it ended up being 2 months. My second tour, they said it's going to be short, and they said it was probably going to be January to end of February. And then maybe, and I said, I can stay as long as you need. And they got me a 1-year visa. So then they asked me if I would stay for 4.5 months. Before I even arrived, they said, can you stay for 4.5 months? I said, yes. I'm on the plane. And then as I get off, they said, oh no, before I even got on the plane, they asked me to wear something like presentable,
Okay.
jeans or something that looked all right. And then as I arrived, I said, I'm here. They said, okay, make sure you exit through this exit. It's on the left side. I go, okay, strange, or whatever.
Yeah.
Second, I walk through the exit doors with my bags. I see a camera on me. And then I look to my left, and Jake Lee and Jack Morris are there.
Yeah.
And they say hello to me. Jake introduces himself to me. It was our first time meeting. And then he handed me the first ever GLG shirt. So I was the first person to be given, even before them, a good looking guy's t-shirt.
Wow.
And that kind of started it for us. I forget what day I landed, but that Saturday was Great Muda's retirement match, and GLG officially debuted as a faction.
Wow. What's like the tag match that stands out? Because when you look at your reign, insane. Are you like second or third longest reign ever?
Fifth longest in history.
Still insane. For you, is there a match for a guy that was originally going to go for a month, then they extended it this whole time? For everything you got to do with the GLG, is there like a match or even a moment being with those guys? Because a lot of it you vlogged, but like for you personally, what stands out?
For GLG, I would say the 6-man tag at the Tokyo Dome.
Okay.
Probably means a lot to me. That was myself, Jake Lee, and Jack Morris against Kojima, Segura, and Timothy Thatcher. And then as champions, there's a few that come to mind in no order. It's probably our tag title defense at Korakuen Hall against Anaba and Kitamiya. Our defense against Los Guapaladores, Dragonbane, and Alpha Wolf. Or this one has like sentimental, sentimental to me, but probably our last successful defense, which was against Tens Koji, Hiroshi Tenzan, and Satoshi Kojima. And that was at the famous sumo hall in Tokyo.
Wow. What's like a day in the life for you in Japan?
Some days are very boring. Okay. So I would say the first 2 tours, even the second tour, which was very long, it felt like a vacation almost every day. Right. Even though I'm working out and stuff. But I would say the third tour, and then definitely the tour that I did for 6.5 months straight, it just became my life. It'd be very, all right, wake up, go to the supermarket, have my breakfast, go to the dojo, train. Maybe that was really all I had to do that day. And then slowly I met friends, other wrestlers, we'd go out a lot. I met non-wrestling people in Japan just because I was there for so long. Yeah. It wasn't like, how do I put it? It wasn't as if I was spending time in Japan. It was just that I was living in Japan.
Yeah. How did it work for you? Did you know any Japanese or anything beforehand, or slowly, or
first? I would say first 2 tours I knew absolutely no Japanese. By tour 3 and definitely my 4th trip, I'm not conversational by any means. But I can order food. I can ask for directions. I know how to order a beer. But outside of that, I wasn't very good at Japanese. I had to use my phone to translate most of the time.
Mm-hmm. When you look at AG2, especially being the record books for you, what was it like in just being the experience being the first ever Skywalker champion? Because when you look at the championship itself, completely unique, and especially you have a hand and you have a voucher of who could be the next guy.
Yes. So I thought that was a very cool idea. I remember when I was winning it, and I went up to Donnie B. Yeah. And I was like, hey, I don't have any more dates for this company. What am I supposed to do? He goes, oh, well, this isn't the company's belt. This is your belt. And you travel with it. You defend it when you can, when you want. And then you decide who wins it. And then that person decides who wins it. And then he asked me to create a journal. So I would mark down all my matches, and if there's a note from the match, and then after I lost the belt to Ichiban, I gave him the notebook, and he did the same until he gave it to Sammy Diaz, and until he gave it to Dustin Waller.
For you, I want to curious. You talk about it. We mentioned we're going to talk about it. The Generation Grap. You talk about John Walters, everything. You hyped that match up. What was so special about that match with John Walters, even leading into it?
Probably because I watched him wrestle when I was 10 years old in
Okay.
Ring of Honor. I
Yeah.
watched him wrestle CM Punk at the second year anniversary show. I watched him win the Pure title. I was there when he beat Doug Williams in Braintree, Mass. And then seeing him doing like PWF and NECW and just, I think, there's like the Steve Bradleys of the world,
Yeah.
and then there's also the John Walters. And I don't think there wouldn't be an Anthony Greene. I don't think there'd be an Eddie Edwards or a Biff Busick or a Donovan Dijak or a Matt Taven if John Walters didn't kind of walk so we could run.
Yeah. Well, is there anyone from that time when you first started watching wrestling or the John Walters era that you never got to wrestle?
So many, so
Yeah.
many of them.
What's like the one that sticks out?
Um, and we're talking strictly New England.
Who can we do a Generation Grap with?
Alex Arion.
Okay, yeah, I
Yeah,
think so.
that's probably a big one. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else that I'd really like. I don't think he's in ring shape anymore, but like the Rocket Fred Curry Jr.
Mm.
Like that's a guy I used to watch a lot. Me and Jason Blade have never had a singles match,
Wow.
so that's there. We've done maybe a tag against each other once,
Yeah.
and then we used to team a little bit at Lucky Pro Wrestling. Another shout out for Lucky Pro. They had me tag with Jason Blade because he was a veteran and he helped me. Like we only tagged a handful of times, but it was very helpful to me.
What was the tag name or anything?
I was trying to think what they wanted to call us. I always called us the faction of attraction,
Okay.
but that was just like my little moniker. We were the higher society or the high society,
Okay.
and we were managed by Brian Cairo.
Nice.
But yeah, those few come to mind, and then like they're a little like they're bigger stars now, but like Jay Lethal is someone I've always wanted to wrestle as well. I could say AJ Styles and CM Punk. Like these guys I legitimately grew up watching.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably definitely Alex Arion's probably top of the list because I feel like that's the one. If he got in ring shape, like that one's an actual possibility.
Wow.
Yeah.
You hyped up that match with John Walters at Limitless Wrestling, and then months later for you, was it the same situation you grew up watching Matt Cross to have that Generation Grap with him?
So I actually wrestled Matt Cross at Limitless.
Okay.
In 2021.
Okay.
But what I thought was so cool about this one is the first time he came to my home, he came to the New England area, and this time I was going to his home and we were doing it in Cleveland, Ohio. But again, yes, he's another one. Like without Matt Cross, like he was doing that stuff in 2001, 2002, coming up with like, amazing wrestling, Amazing Red, Josh Prohibition,
yeah.
SAT. Like those guys in and of itself started Ring of Honor. Those guys started, the X division. Without that style of wrestling, I don't think we'd be where we are today.
Wow. And when you talk about Lucky Pro, you talk about team with Jason Blade. All these years later, insane. Like you talk about Lucky Pro being one of these companies that bring in these guys, the new naturals. That's nuts.
Yeah.
How was that experience, especially with Chase Stevens?
So again, like it comes down to my fandom. And
Yeah.
I'm a huge wrestling fan. I'll actually show you something.
Okay.
The day that I worked with him, I brought this.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. Shout out Chris Sullivan, man. He hooked me up with that a while back. And he also gifted me with a Chris Harris TNA figure that was already signed.
Wow.
So I have one half of the Naturals, one half of AMW.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat. But it was really cool, man. Like I said, I watched him growing up. I watched the first ever 6 sides of steel cage match, which he was in. I watched him win the NWA World Tag Titles with help from Chris Candido. And when I found out he was on the show, I found out in September that he was coming in November. The first thing I said is, well, Chris, what am I doing with him? And they had to figure it out, but I ended up tagging with him. And then lo and behold, Los Toxicos were splitting up. So he won the tag titles.
Wow.
Sad that I couldn't properly defend them and drop them. But, I mean, regardless, it's a cool memory, and I did get to be a part of the title match back in February. So
now, I'm not familiar with him right now. Is he still doing a lot of wrestling or not much? Or
Yeah,
was it hard to bring him in? Or
yeah, Chase does a lot of stuff in, like, the South, like,
Okay.
Carolinas, Tennessee, mostly,
Yeah.
Kentucky area. I don't think he does a lot up in the Northeast. So I think it's cool that we're the one company to actually use them.
Yeah. And when you talk tag teams, especially a guy you talk top row promotions, you've talked a lot of companies. Channing Thomas, what was it about the chemistry with you guys originally that you decided tag team wrestling is something? Because you've been a part of a lot of tag teams that have won championship gold, things like that. But you and Channing just have that chemistry naturally.
Yeah, I think good wrestling can recognize good wrestling, and
Yeah.
I think we've had such good matches against each other. And it was a triple threat that we did for Teddy Goodz live pro wrestling at the beach against Tommy Dreamer.
Mhm.
And after the match, Dreamer basically said, "You guys look very similar. Like you guys should think about being a tag team." And then someone else soon after mentioned it. And then even I texted Dreamer the day after and I was like, we're getting tag gear. Like, we're going to take this serious. And we had the tag gear by October.
Yeah.
I was in Japan at the time. And then winter time's kind of tough, but it took us like 4 months before we even got our first tag booking. We were begging places to let us team, and it took 4 months. And the first place to do it was Wrestling Open. And then it was Teddy Goodz, where in our second tag match ever, we became the live pro wrestling tag team champions.
What does StarStruck come from? Because I could be wrong. When you guys won the tag titles, I don't think you had a name or you had something else. I could be wrong.
I think we used StarStruck.
I think you were no, you were debating something for a finish. I think at first, but where does StarStruck come in for?
I think when the fans see us, they're starstruck.
Okay.
Yeah. There were other ideas. One of them was the Midnight Special.
Okay. You wanted to call a move that, I think.
Maybe, and then we also thought about being called the Automatics.
Okay.
But I think StarStruck, fits our vibe the most.
Wow. And when you talk this year in general, you cut that promo at the beginning of the year saying, is that it? We'll get into it. But one of the things you talked about, wrestling for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. You love pro wrestling, the fandom, obviously one of the most prestigious titles in wrestling. To you, what was the lead up to it in general?
I think that NWA Exodus Pro Wrestling wanted to put me in the best predicament possible on that show where they knew NWA officials or Billy Corrigan might be watching. And I think they thought that on their roster, no one was going to give Thrill Billy Silas Mason the best match other than me.
Yeah.
So it's kind of win-win because I get the opportunity to wrestle for the NWA title. And I'm also going to give the world champion his best defense. And not to sound cocky or anything, but I genuinely think that will be his best title defense in his entire run as champion.
Wow. Yeah. What's the inspiration, or how do you come up with that promo you did for him? You were just performing surgery?
Yeah, because I was saving the NWA.
I love it.
I wanted to save the title. No offense to Silas. Like, this is genuinely what happened. Anytime I would say, and I was so excited, I'd tell someone, I'm wrestling for the NWA World title. Every single person said, who's NWA World Champion? And that's not a shot at Silas. Silas is awesome. He was incredible in the ring. One of my favorite matches this year so far. But it's true. It's no longer the world title that it once was. And I wanted to kind of put out there, like, I've wrestled in India, Japan, Mexico. I've wrestled in Europe. I can make it a world title once again. And I'm going to save the NWA. And I think my ending line was, it's only going to take 2 letters to save these 3. Who's really the best here? AG.
Wow. AG, you're a genius.
Oh, stop it. No, I'm not.
You mentioned India. For you, how is that experience? Obviously, recently we know what happened with your face and with the mask and all that stuff. But in general, being a part of India, the debuting company, and being the first ever tag champs, how has that been for WXW?
It's so cool, man. It's such a different vibe. Like, it's a very American style wrestling. It's not like when you go to Mexico and you wrestle lucha libre, or you go to Japan and it's strong style or whatnot. It's still the same American style wrestling, just in front of a completely different audience that doesn't see wrestling live all the time. And if they do, it's not great pro wrestling. And having them bring in me, Dijak, Zack Sabre Jr., Big Damo, like, they're getting an all-star cast of pro wrestlers. Yeah. And I just think that they're very grateful for it. The fans are. I also think the The company itself is very grateful for all of us coming in. And I even got to spend an extra week this past time. I showed up a week early to help teach the students of WXM. There's an intermediate and an advanced class.
Okay.
So I got to work with all the guys in advance even before the tapings. I think they were very, like, they would not stop telling me how thankful they were that someone came in to train with them.
Wow.
But I think if everything's done right, that could be really special.
Now, I know you said it's like the American style, but is there anything you think stands out, whether it's the crowd or the wrestling in general, or anything over there that's different in wrestling here?
I think it's, if anything, it's the crowd. And I think it's just, no offense to American crowds.
Yeah.
I do love them, but this Indian crowd, like I said, they don't see wrestling a lot. So they're just very appreciative of everything they're seeing. And they're very reactive to everything.
Nice. I was watching it the other day. When you talk about the first independent companies that have been killing it right now, ACW, the first show ever, you're wrestling Crowbar, Jim Molyneux as the ref too. How was the experience with ACW? And then even coming back this recent time, challenging for the Cruiserweight Championship now?
Yes, so that was actually shot on us. We didn't know until we were walking through the curtain that the Cruiserweight Championship was on the line.
Wow.
That place is sick, man. I mean, I've known two of the promoters, Vic Delicious and Hal Collins.
Yeah.
I've known them. I used to watch Vic Delicious wrestle for Mike Sparta's WWA back in the day.
You ever wrestle any of them or no?
I tagged with Vic Delicious at House of Hardcore at the ECW Arena in 2014.
Wow.
But their first show, they reached out to me and they told me what they wanted me to do. And I was like, absolutely. Of course, I'm going to wrestle Crowbar. We've had 2 other good matches previously.
Yeah.
We're going to do it in front of 1,500 fans or so. Really good experience the first time around. Had a lot of fun. And then it wasn't until a little over a year later, I got the call to come back and absolutely killed it in a scramble match. That was my first match back after, coming back from India.
Yeah.
I wanted to take like a month off or so. So I did that. Had a great time, and it looks like I'll be back this summer, hopefully.
Nice.
So they're doing great things, man. If they're able to pack, the Mid Hudson Civic Center in Poughkeepsie every few months, drawing 1,500. This past show at the Hardy Boys had about 2,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah, just they're doing really cool things, man. I don't know if their goal is to, tour or if, Poughkeepsie is their, going to be their home.
Yeah.
But they're doing really awesome things. No,
what's like that venue that stands out? Because even like the Mid Hudson Civic Center, you wrestled in a couple times, but you've gone all over around the world. What's like that venue that sticks out to you?
Probably Korakuen Hall.
Legendary, yeah.
But post-COVID Korakuen Hall, because I wrestled there during COVID, and it's awful because they were only allowed to clap. And I was wrestling in front of like 400 or 500 people in there, and it's very spread out. It's a very big place.
Yeah.
But I would say a sold-out Korakuen Hall, like you can't beat it. Just 1,400 fans going absolutely ballistic. The vibe, even when I was there during COVID, walking in there, the vibe is just completely different than any other venue I've ever been in.
So what's it like wrestling in the hall during COVID?
Quiet.
Yeah.
Very
What, do they only
quiet.
allow like certain amount, I assume, or
They like, all the seats were spread out. Like it was every other seat. And during COVID, people were scared to go out. Everyone had to wear a mask, and they weren't allowed to make noise verbally. They were only allowed to clap.
wow.
So yeah, it was very awkward, very
Yeah.
awkward, and you feel every bump when the crowd's not electric.
Wow. The thing I love about AG, I think the most, is a lot of the wrestling you do is about the memories and the moments. So for you, being a huge part of Top Rope Promotions, you talk about everything you got to do there. To wrestle a guy that was like the top rope guy, Teddy Goodz, in his last match for you, what was that like when he first told you that you were going to be his final match ever?
I was taken aback, one, that he was actually like donezo. And then the show was booked around the time I was meant to go back to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So I was nervous that they were gonna get in each other's way. So I made sure I talked to Pro Wrestling Noah, and I made sure my flight was like days later.
Yeah.
So made sure I was available for the show, because even he said like, you can let me know. I said, no, I'm good. No matter what, I'll be good for that show. So that was really cool. And the fact that very early on he helped me a lot when I was training at Spike's Lockup under Nick Steele and Ryan Waters. He was running his shows in New Bedford, and he would always book me. He'd always put me in good situations. Even in 2013, I worked with Teddy a lot.
Yeah.
And he's always just been very giving to me. My first promo photos ever were done with Teddy. And I think it's kind of full circle that he helped me early on, and now he's asking me to be his final match. And I kind of helped him by putting the entire match together with Mark Sterling. And he even said, like, I know you're going to make this. I know you're going to make this a great match. So whatever you want to do. And he just fully trusted my judgment and everything I suggested. Even in the beginning of the match, we didn't talk at all. We just did it in there and I told him what to do. So,
Wow. When you mentioned Ryan Waters, you mentioned Nick Steele. Who else were like some of your biggest mentors when you first started wrestling, or even nowadays?
um, Ryan Waters, Nick Steele, Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, Vinny Marcellia, Brutal Bob Evans, Brian Fury, Scotty Slade. Um, and then even now, it's like, when I was in the PC, I learned a lot from Brian Kendrick, Ace Steele, Sanjay Dutt, Scotty Too Hottie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think if there's anyone that really comes to mind now that I'm like, I would consider him a mentor.
Yeah.
Probably Dango.
Nice.
Yeah, Dango comes to mind. And then even just the guys that like I kind of watched, like having, anytime I'm in a locker room with someone more experienced than me, I'll always ask them to watch my match. So if Tommy Dreamer's in the locker room, he's my coach for the night.
Nice.
Eddie Edwards is in the locker room, he's my coach for the night.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like there's way too many people to name. But I feel like I pick a little bit from each person, take what I find useful and keep it. If I don't find it as useful, if it doesn't work for Anthony Greene, the character, or for the wrestler, then it's gone,
Yeah.
But
when you talk about being a mentor, you're the fifth one, the final one I got to interview. For you, was it easy, or did you know that New England Pro Wrestling Academy is something that you wanted to do and give back and start coaching?
Even before COVID, when Brian Fury still owned the school, he slowly started having me help with the beginner ring.
Okay.
So I always had like an interest in training. And then obviously I got released. I started doing more seminars and I realized, I'm really enjoying this. I really enjoy watching someone do something incorrectly, me explain it to them, and then it clicks, and seeing it click, I'm like, oh, this is a really good feeling. And then it was maybe 2023. I had like a week. Was it 2023? Yeah, 2023 is when I was asked if I wanted to be a trainer at the school, and I was only home for 6 weeks before I was going back to Japan. And those 6 weeks, they were small classes for me because they just started Wednesday nights. So that was my night.
Yep.
But I felt like everyone was really learning and everyone was working really hard, and I liked that. And it was like the earliest of like Jose Zamora training before he like had his first match ever.
Yeah.
And then coming back to training, during the winter and seeing all their progress, even though it wasn't because of me, but just seeing them progress. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. Now I can do more with these guys. And then I would say it was summer of 2024 when I knew I was going to be going to Japan a little less, or like for less time. I had 10 weeks home, is when me and Dijak kind of took over the Wednesday nights. And I was like, yes, this is what I want to do every Wednesday forever.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what is it now? Wednesdays is your night?
Wednesdays is myself and Dijak and Scotty Slade, depending on the week. So Scotty Slade does beginner ring. If he's there, then me and Dijak will do advanced ring. If Scotty Slade is not there, then I do beginner ring and Dijak does advanced ring.
Wow. You've talked about everything in pro wrestling, but at the beginning of the year, you hyped it up to and you posted it. AG, I'm curious, going into your mind in general, is this it? What is your mindset behind it? You've accomplished so much in wrestling, but what's on the horizon?
So I actually had this talk with Chase Stevens in February.
Yeah.
Because I picked him up from the airport. We drove to the show together. And basically, he doesn't think he did enough in his wrestling career. And I said, well, you were, multi-time NWA World Tag Team Champions. You wrestled in Puerto Rico. You traveled the country, signed to TNA. You have action figures. You've been in video games, all this stuff. If you weren't Chase Stevens and you saw Chase Stevens' career, would you say he made it? Would you say he was a success? And he's like, I never thought of it that way. Yes. But I can't look at myself that way. Regardless of what I've done or not done, I don't think I've done enough in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
And I also, my two goals in pro wrestling forever were to wrestle for the WWE and wrestle in Japan. I've done both of those things. So I just don't know if there's like another goal, or if I'm just, like I said it in the video, am I chasing this unattainable carrot and I'm never going to sign another wrestling contract, or I'm never going to wrestle on TV again, or I'll never work for the WWE. Like, I don't know the answer. And that's the scariest part, because pro wrestling is the one industry where how hard you work doesn't matter. End of the day, it really isn't up to us. It's up to someone else if we get the job. You can get yourself in the right position for it. You can be in the best shape. You can have the best gear. You can be the best wrestler, cut the best promo, have awesome social media. But those are just helping you with the possibility of getting there. But end of the day, it's not my decision. Somebody else basically owns my career if I ever want to get back to, you know, a major wrestling company. And I think that's the scariest part, which is why I question, like, is this it for me? Like, is this it? Doesn't necessarily mean, am I done? Is this it? Is this where I'm going to be forever? Maybe it is it. Maybe it's not it. I, honest to God, filmed that video in whatever, November or December, dropped it on January 1st. I'm talking to you in March right now, whenever it airs. I really don't know the answer right now.
Wow.
I have no clue if this is it.
Yeah. Wow. So you look at everything in wrestling. One of the things I want to ask you about too, going into the future, YouTube. You talk about it too. Maven has a big YouTube following, but AG, you've started to build a following too, documenting Japan and everything. Do you have any goals with YouTube, especially?
No. So I feel like I really tried hard with the vlogs.
Yeah.
And I have fun doing them. I can't edit for shit. Yeah. So I have someone else do it for me. I pay someone to edit it. So it becomes, you know, it's not very cost effective. There's no ROI for me, you know, getting a couple hundred or 1,000 views on a video. I think for me right now, short form content is the way to go. Yeah. So short, you know, minute videos, 2-minute videos. Whether that be my weird indie wrestling fact that Hulk Hogan wrestled on an indie show, maybe it's my t-shirt collection, maybe it's a 1-minute wrestling promo, maybe it's a vlog of my weekend done in, you know, 1 minute and 30 seconds. I don't know what it is yet. Yeah. But I do enjoy making content. I do enjoy filming stuff and doing voiceovers and all that. But for me, I don't think the 20-minute vlogs were doing for me what I wanted them to do. Okay. So we'll see. Who knows? I also like, you know, here and there, I'll just throw one of my old matches on. Oh, I forgot I wrestled Shawn Spears and Tommy Dreamer in a triple threat. Here it is, you know, stuff like that.
I gotta ask you, because everyone likes to bash on me. Is there anything that stand out wrestling Shawn Spears? I said Teddy Goodz loves clown on me. My favorite wrestler of all time.
He has a job, and he'll have a job for life because he is a leader in the ring. Okay. He is he's one of those like wrestlers. Like, yeah, he can base for you if you're a luchador. He can carry you if you're, you know, 6 months in. He can hang with you if you're John Cena. He's like an all-around type guy, which is the kind of wrestler I, you know, like strive to be. Nice. I liked wrestling him. And the day I enjoyed it. I thought he was great.
Nice. Well, AG, no matter what, if this is it or not, I can't thank you enough for all you've done in pro wrestling. However, every interview I've done has ended the same now. The day you decide it's all done, which hopefully isn't anytime soon, but the day you decide it's all done, what do you want Anthony Greene's legacy in pro wrestling to be?
It's kind of a generic answer, but I guess it's just like that Anthony Greene made the professional wrestling scene better. Whether that's just one individual student that I've trained or what, like I said, I really enjoy seeing the progress of guys and girls. And even when I was, you know, over, you know, doing Exodus Pro, I'm a producer there. I'm a producer at WXM in India. Just even watching my ideas come to life in another match, something I'm not involved in. Yeah. And then seeing the guys and girls come to the back with a smile on their face that, oh, we hit our time. The match went well. The crowd loved it. The other producers and bookers love it. Like that, I think I get more out of that now than even just like going out there and wrestling myself, like wrestling for myself. I'd rather go out there and wrestle DJ Powers or Ichiban or Dustin Waller, Livia, Shannon Levangie, like wrestle a younger person and then come back better or think they're better. I don't know if this was a private conversation or what, but even Jordan Oliver, I saw him at the Awesome Championship Wrestling show recently.
Was he in the match too with you?
He was in the match,
Okay,
yes. And after we had a little conversation, and he basically said when his first real road trip, he drove from like the PA, New Jersey area with a carload of guys to XWA Thursday Night Throwdown. And I think they were going to go to a chaotic show the next day. I offered them all to just stay at my house. So he said I always took care of him there. And then I wrestled him at XWA. And he said to me that Ace Austin, who he would travel with, explained to him that you can do anything in a wrestling match. And it was me that said, you can do anything in a wrestling match in these places. And it kind of helped him understand I don't want to say psychology. I think he understood the psychology, but I guess like the rhythm of a wrestling match. Wow. And it's just cool hearing someone like him, you know, who's now doing incredible things. He's an AEW, you know, big GCW star, X, Y, and Z. Yeah. Just hearing him remember. And that's the other important thing. Like you meet the same people going up that you do going down. And he's just still very humble. And I think it's very cool that he took his time to tell me that, because he doesn't owe me anything. I offered him a couch to sleep on, and he's just doing awesome. Yeah.
Wow. Well, AG, I can't thank you enough. Like I told you, I met you. I have a picture of you, my first ever indie show. You and Ace Romero captured the XWA tag titles. And to see everything that you've done, especially for me, thank you for everything. I met you when I was 12, and I just turned 21. So my gratitude towards you, man, I can't thank you enough.
Making me feel old.
I was going to 21 plus shows that you were on at like 12 years old because you were on the show. So thank you for everything.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
But thank you, AG, for doing this. And thank everybody for watching this episode. This was Best for Business.
Thank you for watching this episode of Best for Business. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, because this is Best for Business.